The importance of cytology cannot be ignored as it is an integral tool in screening for oral cancer. Oral cancer is a major threat to public health in the developing sector. In India, it is among the top 3 cancers and it is responsible for a major percentage of mortality and morbidity. It can be seen in the form of a non-healing ulcer or as a verrucal growth, as we can see in the pictures alongside. Now, there are various appearances as which oral cancer can appear. It could be in the form of white plaque, as can be seen in the first picture, or in the form of a denuded ulcerated area, as can be seen in the second picture. Histopathologically, it may appear as docile and benign as hyperkeratosis or may be as morbid and fatal as a frankly invasive squamous cell carcinoma. So, to detect, there are various screening methods which one can look into, which mainly includes clinical evaluation, which includes the visual examination, vital staining procedures, chemiluminescence, Wellscopy, and oral microscopy. And of course, we have the histopathological evaluation in the form of exfoliative cytology, brush biopsy, and routine biopsy. Although routine biopsy histopathological examination remains the gold standard for ultimate detection of cancer, many a times patients are quite apprehensive in surgical procedures. So herein comes the role of exfoliative cytology. The aim of this demonstration is to highlight the importance of exfoliative cytology in screening and detection of oral potentially malignant change. To reinforce this, let us have a look at the clinical scenario wherein how a patient presents to a doctor with a chief complaint of a white lesion.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Priya. Please sit. So what brings you here today?
Well, I have a problem in my mouth. And
What problem?
yeah, and the whitish area on my left cheek of the in the
side of the left
yeah,
cheek.
yeah, and it doesn't go while rubbing on it.
Okay, fine. Okay, but before I examine that area, I need to have certain knowledge about your routine, your day-to-day life. So, do you think you'll be able to answer me correctly?
Yeah, I'll try to answer.
Okay. So, have you had any history of smoking cigarettes, or have you been chewing tobacco or pan masala or areca nut or anything like that?
I was having a habit of chewing tobacco since last 10 years, and I left it already.
Okay, when did you leave the habit?
Last week.
Last week you left the habit, fine. But when did you notice the lesion for the first time?
Since last 6 months.
6 months back you noticed the
Yes.
lesion.
When we examine the patient presented with a white area. It is commonly seen that there is a frictional keratosis at the level of occlusal plane. But since the patient gave a history of tobacco habits, it was mandatory for us or any clinician for that matter to have a complete and thorough look at it via the process of incisional or an excisional biopsy. So now what?
What I can do is to give a proper confirmation or a proper diagnosis, I need to take a small part of that area, because just examination will not exactly give me a correct diagnosis. So what I need to do is I need to take a part of that area and just send it for a routine examination so that I'll get to know final confirmation of the lesion.
No, I don't want any kind of surgery.
It's not a surgery, it's just what we call is, that procedure is basically taking a biopsy where we just take a small part of the main area and just send it to the pathologist for them to examine and find out what it exactly is.
No, I don't want anything of that sort.
Fine, okay, if you know what a biopsy, we'll take a cytological smear then.
No, doctor, no, I'm not.
Oh no, don't worry, cytological smear is nothing like surgery. I'll just take a part of your saliva from that area and spread it on a slide and see it under the microscope. For that, I need not make any cut, no blood, nothing. It's a completely simple, non-invasive technique. So I think that there's nothing of cutting in that, no biopsy, nothing. I think, is it okay?
Yeah, that is fine.
That is fine.
Okay.
Don't worry, it doesn't involve any surgery.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can come to the lab tomorrow to meet Dr. Amita. She will take a smear for you, and after the smear and the local examination of that area, we will be able to give you at least a probable diagnosis as to what the area could be, and probably then we can go about with the treatment.
Okay.
Is it fine?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
As through the clinical scenario, we saw that the patient was apprehensive of a surgical procedure but readily accepted exfoliative cytology. Before we get into the substance of cytology, let us see what does oral exfoliative cytology means. Oral exfoliative cytology is the art and science of interpretation of cells from the human body that desquamate freely from epithelial surface or are removed easily from various tissues by various procedures like washing of organs with saline or brush or tongue blades or spatula. It's a simple non-invasive technique which can be used in various situations like mass screening of community for oral abnormalities, to evaluate pre-malignant lesions, to detect CA, to evaluate radiosensitivity, and of course diagnosis and detection of residual or recurrent carcinomas. But before we look at the actual staining procedure, let us have a look at the layers of the oral epithelium, because that is what is going to be studied through oral exfoliative cytology. As we can see that the topmost layer of the oral mucosa is the stratum corneum, heavily keratinized, and the cells may or may not contain nucleus. The next level is stratum granulosum, which is heavily packed with keratohyalin granules. The third layer is the bulkiest layer of all, which is the stratum spinosum, and mainly contains prickle-shaped cells. And of course, the last and the most important layer, which is the stratum basale, which also is called as germinative layer, because it is the cells from this epithelia which start and migrate and mature as towards the superficial layers. So we can see in this video that the oral exfoliative cells basically start from the basal layer and are shed off at the surface. And of course, we all should know that the exfoliation time or the turnover time in oral mucosa ranges from around 25 to 57 days. And it is these exfoliative cells which are stained for further changes. Let us now have a look at the armamentarium which is required for staining of the smear. The first and the foremost is the presence of clean glass microscopic slides which have a frosted end. Followed by that, we need a lead pencil, as can be seen on the left side of the screen, a wooden spatula which has to be sterile. We need distilled water as well. Apart from that, mouth mirror and explorer, and finally cytological fixative, which is the most important aspect of the staining procedure. For preparation of the smear, we make sure that we always segregate the portion which has to be smeared on, and the frosted portion has to be identified using a lead pencil. It could be the patient's name, document, or the patient's file number, or even the series of cytology which is followed in a particular department. Using a sterile spatula, as you can see in the video, the sterile spatula has been taken and the action shows basically the action of spread of smear. It should be made sure the smear should be made on the same side as the marking. So now let us have a look at how the smear preparation is done. Always make sure that you follow the universal precautions. The gloves should always be there, and very gently peel off the cover from the sterile spatula. Make sure the sterile spatula is nicely dipped and moistened in distilled water. This is done so because a movement of a dry spatula will cause friction and wounding or injury on the mucosa of the person from whom the smear is being taken. Now, as you can see, the moistened spatula is moved across from the top to the bottom of the oral mucosa, as can be seen. Always it should be made sure that the smear should be taken in a single direction, as can be seen here. This basically shows the collection of the smear or the saliva on the moistened spatula. Always make sure that you either spread the smear in the center of the slide and take it towards the periphery, or the smear could be spread onto the slide using a figure of 8 motion. Similarly, the same end can be used if you are taking the smear from the same tissue. However, it should be made sure if smear is taken from another side, the unused end of the spatula should be used so as to prevent any cross-contamination and also false positive reactions. The next step is to immediately fix the smears in cytological fixative, which is basically a combination of 50% diethyl ether and 50% alcohol. Now let's move on to the staining procedure. Before we go on to the staining procedure, we must know what stain is the most important stain used in exfoliative cytology. The first stain was basically described by Dr. George Papanicolaou in the 1940s, wherein he described Papanicolaou stain. The Papanicolaou stain has basically provided a good method to give good nuclear details and good amount of translucent or transparent cytoplasm. The most important benefit of Pap stain is that it has got various components which stain the different cells of the tissue layers in a differential manner. So as we can see on the left side, there are 3 different kinds of cells which are color coded. So as we can see, the basal cell is blue, the spinous is pink, the superficial is yellow. But how these yellow colors are achieved, we'll get to know through the staining procedure. Let us have a look at the staining procedure. The first thing to make sure is that the cytological fixative has been kept for a long time so as the slides are completely fixed. After that, the sections are brought to water by dipping it in descending grades of alcohol. As we can see, the doctor has taken the slide and taken it through descending grades of alcohol, starting from 90, 70 and finally 50%, and finally dipping into distilled water. You may be wondering, why is distilled water required after alcohol? That is because of the stain Harris hematoxylin. Harris hematoxylin is a very strong nuclear stain which will only work in an aqueous media. So initially, as we all saw, that the cytological fixative was an alcohol and ether based media, and as a result of that, hematoxylin would have not been able to stain. But because of bringing it to water, it becomes easily reactive with Harris hematoxylin. The Harris hematoxylin stain has to be kept for 3 minutes. After that, we basically observe a process in which the stain slide is kept in water for almost 2 to 3 minutes. The purpose of this is basically to satisfy the unsatisfied hydroxyl ions which are basically seen in the cells as a result of Harris hematoxylin. And as a result of this, the red colored Harris hematoxylin becomes ultimately blue, and this procedure is known as bluing. Since Harris hematoxylin is a regressive stain, the slide has to be overstained and differentiated using acid alcohol, as can be seen in the video. So, maximum 2 to 3 dips are enough for the slide to be kept in acid alcohol, and of course then we again make sure we dip the sections in water, as you can see. Now the next step is to stain the cells with 2 alcohol based dyes which will give different colors. Alcohol based dyes are namely orangey and eosin azure, as we can see in this picture. Before we go into staining of these, we need to take the sections through increasing grades of alcohol, that is dehydrating the sections, so taking them through 50%, 70% and 90% of alcohol. And the purpose for this is that the cells now are dipped in the organic solvent will react much better with the alcohol based dyes. After dehydrating the sections, make sure the sections are clean, and we take a clean petri dish so as to start staining with the first dye solution, which is orange G. Orangey is a dye which basically contains the orangey component along with phosphotungstic acid. This gives a very characteristic color to all the cells, which is a typical yellow or an orange color. Make sure that the slide is nicely flooded with the stain, because the harvest of the cells is also equally spread. Should not miss any area from the orangey stain. Now, orangey basically should be kept for around 2 minutes, and after orangey, the 20% alcohol should be used to rinse off the excess stain from the slide. As can be seen, we made sure that the alcohol should be put very gently and not directly over the slide, as it can disrupt the staining properties of the cells. The next step is to stain it with the next alcohol based dye, which is eosin azure. There are several formulations of this stain, and they are designated by numbers starting from EA36 to EA65. They contain eosin, light green and phosphotungstic acid. Formulae differ in the form of different concentration of light green, and sometimes may or may not contain Bismarck brown and lithium carbonate. For our procedure, we use the EA50. Since we have two components, light green and EA, that is the eosin, we get two types of colors from this dye, which is the pink color, which is mainly seen in the intermediate cells, of course the green to bluish green color, which is generally seen in the basal, parabasal cells. Next step, again as we did with orangey, was to rinse off the excess stain using 90% alcohol. Again, it should be made sure the stain alcohol should not be directly poured onto the slide, but rather from the edges, so as not to disrupt the architecture of the cells. In which we'll have two changes of 90% alcohol, as we can see in this picture. The ultimate aim is to basically rinse off all the excess stain and proper differentiation of all the previous stains. And as we see, after 90% alcohol, we have two separate changes of absolute alcohol. As we can see here, from alcohol 1 it goes into alcohol 2. Next is to completely clear the slide, we use a media like xylene. Again, we take it through two changes of xylene, that is xylene 1 and xylene 2, as can be seen in the picture. After bringing it out of xylene, the slide should be completely dried and mounted using a mounting media which is called as DPX. As you can see now, the slide has been brought out from xylene. The next step would be mounting the slides, but before mounting it should be made sure that the slide is completely dried off. Always make sure that the cover slip is clean. The DPX or the mounting media should be first spread onto one edge and then gently pressed on such that the media evenly disperses and covers all the stained cells. Any excess mounting media should be cleaned with. So how do we interpret this slide? Rather, how different cells look like following the staining procedure. As we can see in this animation, we can make out that the parabasal and the basal cells are in different shades of blue, whereas the intermediate cells are in a typical pink shade, and this is brought about by the various components of eosin azure, which mainly are the light green and the eosin component, while the superficial cells, which are mainly rich in keratin, are basically filled up by the orangey, and as we can see, as the name of the dye is, so is the color, which is orange. So we can correlate of cells in the stain using different dyes. So what do we look for in a smear which is stained with PAP? We basically look for different types of cells, as already been explained in the picture. In this picture we can see a predominance of blue colored cells, which mainly indicates the basal cells. In this coming picture we can see a lot of pink colored cells and greenish blue colored cells, which mainly indicate the spinous cells and the suprabasal cells respectively. And finally, as we can see in these orange cells, which are mainly stained by, they are the keratin rich cells, which are mainly stained by orangey, and they appear orange in color, which are the superficial cells. That was normal. We need to understand the normal to differentiate it from abnormal. So, depending on different types and different proportions of various types of cells, we have 5 classes. The first class being the normal one, which we have already studied in the previous slide. As we can see, there is a good amount of superficial cells, intermediate cells, and basal cells. The next one is mildly atypical, which basically indicates the presence of atypia, some amount of binucleation, however, no extensive atypia, so no evidence of malignancy. The third and the fourth, which are mainly the indeterminate and the suggestive types, which will include amount of atypia, and as we can see, the cells are clumped together. There are elongated cells which are known as tadpole cells. The cells are quite heavy. You can see a good amount of nuclei with good amount of hypochromasia. And in both these cases, biopsy is generally recommended. In the final type we have, which is actually biopsy is very much mandatory. It is positive for cancer, where you will see huge amount of nuclear hypochromasia, huge amount of NC ratio, and abundant amount of these elongated tadpole cells. So why did we actually want to study these? The oral exfoliative cytology is basically an adjunct to diagnosis. It could be used as a motivational tool for both clinician and the patient when any pre-malignant disorder is detected. Just like any other method or any other technique, exfoliative cytology has its own share of upsides and flip sides. The upside being that it is a very simple and non-invasive technique, can be used in a small setup with minimal training, it's relatively inexpensive and gives good results in short time. However, it is not always confirmatory. There could be false positive reactions, and sometimes it is difficult to take smears from certain far-off sites. Thus, exfoliative cytology is extremely useful in periodic review of high-risk patients, in detection of pre-malignant lesions, mass screening of oral cancer, determination of suitable biopsy site in case of multicentric lesions, and also to study post-radiation changes at the site of carcinomas. Thank you.